Hey, what's up? My name is Jonathan Fink. I'm the author of Spirits of the Gridiron, and this is my audiobook series. Up next, we'll read Volume 1, Chapter 6, The Conference Realignment. The dark forces that seek to hollow the soul of college football stirred once more. Their hunger was not for trophies, but for territory, market share, and dominion over time slots. And so came the reckoning, an event that would leave scars across the college football map: conference realignment. For generations, the gridiron map was sacred. East clashed with West. North stood defiant against South. Rivalries were rituals, born not of branding, but of geography and shared history. But the overlords of darkness, the corporate titans in tailored suits, the network executives who saw stadiums not as shrines, but as rating machines, grew impatient. They wanted more, always more. Gold glittered on distant shores. Streaming empires wondered aloud, what if the West played in the East? Media rights deals bloomed like toxic flowers, promising billions. And so, one by one, the pillars of college football cracked. The SEC, drunk on power and prestige, reached north and west, pulling in Texas and Oklahoma. Two ancient warlords defected, seduced by the promise of greater riches. Their departure shattered the Big 12, a proud but vulnerable realm, once counted out, now scrambling to survive. The Big 10, guardians of cold weather and old money, looked westward with greedy eyes. In an unholy moment, they pulled USC and UCLA, kings of the coast, who abandoned their Pacific lineage for snow-covered dollars. With that, the Pac-10 began to wither. Once a cradle of innovation and independence, it had become unrecognizable. The ACC clung to its coastline like a castle under siege, wary and wounded. The Big 12, cast off and counted out, became a realm of rebels: BYU, Houston, Arizona, Arizona State, Cincinnati, UCF, and Colorado breathing new life. Rivalries died on the altar of profit: Nebraska versus Oklahoma, Oregon versus Oregon State, Pitt versus West Virginia. Games once circled on calendars in red ink disappeared into digital archives. Geography, once the quiet backbone of the sport, meant nothing. Arizona would now face teams whose campuses were thousands of miles and multiple time zones away. Players traveled more, fans traveled less, and something intangible yet vital began to fray. To the football gods, this was not strategy. Conference realignment wasn't expansion. This was sacrilege. The guardians of the gridiron watched as the soul of the sport, once grounded in community, ritual, and rivalry, dissolved into nothingness. They heard the silence of fall Saturday afternoons in towns left behind. They saw the confusion and young fans asked to care about opponents who felt like strangers. And they felt the ache in old hearts, those who had watched the same rival teams battle for decades, now left with empty Saturdays and broken traditions. Long ago, an ancient oracle, Bear Bryant, warned from the heavens: the game is not bound by gold, but by soul. Break its roots, and the heart will bleed. No one listened. In the towns where Saturday night still means something, where college football is not entertainment, but identity, people couldn't find their rivalries, couldn't make sense of the standings, couldn't feel what they used to feel. The football gods took note. They felt the wind shifting, strange and hollow. This was no longer a reshuffling of teams. It was a war of values. The old world had fallen. The new one felt foreign, and into that vacuum would rise either salvation or silence. They convened over the lights of Michigan Stadium. The souls of Wichita State realized the war was no longer coming. It was already here. For community, for loyalty, for meaning. A war for the soul of college football. End of Chapter 6. Up next, Chapter 7, the Super Conference. If you enjoyed, please give it a like. If you really enjoyed, please subscribe. You guys take care, and as always, God bless.